They say architecture is about creating spaces that tell stories. Well, I never thought my personal life would become the most dramatic blueprint I'd ever design. My name is David Mitchell. At 35, I'm a leading architect at Strathmore and Associates, one of Boston's most prestigious architectural firms. I've designed everything from sleek corporate headquarters to award-winning residential complexes. Structure, precision, transparency. These aren't just principles I apply to my work. They're how I've always approached life. Then Emily Morgan walked into my world and redefined everything. I met Emily at a charity gala 2 years ago. She was 32, a junior lawyer at Caldwell and Pierce, ambitious and captivating. Her laugh could fill a room, and her mind was as sharp as the tailored suits she wore to court. Within minutes of meeting her, I found myself sketching her profile on a cocktail napkin, the perfect curve of her smile, the determined set of her jaw. I still have that napkin tucked away in my desk drawer, a blueprint of the moment my life changed. For the first year and a half, we existed in separate spaces, her downtown apartment, my converted warehouse loft in the Arts District. The loft was my masterpiece, a space I had designed and renovated myself. Every beam, every wall, every window placement had been meticulously planned to capture light at different hours of the day. When Emily first saw the loft, she gasped, "David, this is incredible. You designed all this?" "Every inch," I said, watching her explore with obvious delight. "I could never live in a space like this," she remarked, running her hand along a custom-built bookshelf. "It's too perfect. I'd be afraid to mess it up." 6 months before the Hawaii incident, that fear apparently vanished. After a particularly romantic weekend in Vermont, Emily suggested moving in together. It made financial sense. Her rent had just increased, and she was already spending most nights at my place anyway. "Are you sure?" I asked. "You said you'd be afraid to mess up my perfect space." Emily laughed, kissing me softly. That was before I realized I wanted to be part of that space. Within a month, she had sold most of her furniture, too traditional, she called it, and moved into my loft. I cleared half my closet, rearranged my home office to make room for her law books, and watched as she placed small touches of herself throughout my carefully designed space. That was before last Friday evening changed everything. I was at my drafting table, reviewing plans for a new sustainable office complex, when Emily burst through the door. Her energy always preceded her, like a gust of wind that rearranged papers and thoughts alike. "David, you won't believe what happened today." She dropped her designer bag on our leather sofa and headed straight for the wine rack. I noticed she picked the expensive Cabernet we'd been saving for a special occasion. "Must be good news," I said, carefully rolling up my blueprints. Emily had this habit of gesturing wildly when excited, and I'd learned to protect my work. "The best," she said, pouring generously into a glass. "I'm going to Hawaii next week." I looked up, setting my pencil down. "Hawaii? What for?" "A legal conference in Maui, 5 days at the Royal Lahaina Resort." She took a long sip of wine, her lipstick leaving a perfect imprint on the glass. "All expenses paid by the firm." "That's sudden. You never mentioned any conference before." Emily waved her hand dismissively. "It just came up today. Michael pulled me into his office after the Henderson meeting and told me he wanted me to go with him." Michael, the name hung in the air like cigarette smoke. Michael Westbrook, recently divorced senior partner at her firm, 40-something with a reputation for blurring professional boundaries. According to Emily's previous stories, he had a habit of standing too close during conversations and scheduling one-on-one dinners to discuss career development. "Just you and Michael?" I kept my voice even, though I could feel tension creeping into my shoulders. "It's a huge opportunity, David." Emily kicked off her heels and curled up on our sofa. "He's introducing me to the Thompson clients. You know how long I've been trying to get on that account." I set my drafting tools aside and turned to face her fully. "Is the whole legal team going?" "No, just us." She frowned slightly. "Why does that matter?" "It matters because it sounds less like a conference and more like a vacation with your boss. 5 days in Maui, at a resort?" Emily's expression hardened. "It's a legitimate business trip. The conference is about international property law. Michael specifically selected me because of my research on the Nakamura case." "The same Michael who told you that you have bedroom eyes at the Christmas party?" I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. "God, David, that was months ago and he was drunk. He apologized the next day." She stood up and began pacing, something she did when preparing arguments in her head. This is about my career. Do you have any idea how important this connection could be? I understand career opportunities. What I don't understand is why you're only telling me now about a trip that happens next week, or why it has to be just you and a man who's made it clear he's interested in more than your legal expertise. Emily stopped pacing and placed her wine glass down with a sharp clink. Are you seriously doing this right now? I came home excited to share good news, and you're turning it into some kind of interrogation. I'm just asking reasonable questions, I said, standing up as well. The situation doesn't add up. What doesn't add up is your reaction. I thought you'd be happy for me. Happy about you spending 5 days in paradise with a guy who's been trying to get in your pants since you joined the firm? Emily's eyes flashed. That's completely unprofessional and unfair. Michael is my mentor. Mentors don't need tropical getaways to offer career advice. It's a conference with workshops and networking, and then show me the conference schedule, I interrupted. Show me the event website, the registration confirmation, anything. Emily crossed her arms. I don't have to prove anything to you. This is exactly why I hesitated to tell you. I knew you'd overreact. So you admit you were hiding it. I wasn't hiding anything. I'm telling you now, aren't I? I took a deep breath, trying to approach this logically. Emily, put yourself in my position. If I told you I was going to Hawaii alone with Jessica from my office, Jessica, who's always texting you about urgent design questions at 11 p.m., Emily interrupted. Exactly, you'd have concerns too. That's different. How? Because I trust you, and I've always trusted you, but this situation feels off, and you're getting defensive instead of addressing my concerns. Emily's face flushed with anger. I'm getting defensive because you're accusing me of something inappropriate when this is a legitimate professional opportunity. I walked over to the kitchen island, needing some physical space. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm saying I'm uncomfortable with the situation. There's a difference. Well, I'm going, Emily declared, chin raised. This is too important for my career. I looked at her for a long moment, at the determined set of her jaw, the flash in her eyes. I'm asking you not to go. As your partner, I'm telling you I'm not comfortable with this arrangement. Emily's laugh was sharp and humorless. You're asking me? You're telling me? Oh, I'm not your property, David. I'm a grown woman who makes her own decisions. Those words hit me like a physical blow. Not because they were harsh, but because they revealed something fundamental. Emily saw my concern as control, not care. I looked around the loft, my loft, at the space I had created and then willingly shared with her. At the kitchen where we cooked Sunday brunches. At the skylight I'd installed because Emily once mentioned loving to fall asleep watching stars. At the home I'd built that she was treating like a hotel. You're right, I said finally, my voice cool and detached. You're not my property. I paused, the architect in me appreciating the structural symmetry of what I was about to say. And I'm not your landlord. Emily rolled her eyes, clearly missing the significance. Don't be dramatic. This trip is happening and I need you to support me. When do you leave? What? I asked, already mentally designing a new blueprint, one that wouldn't include her. Tuesday morning. I'll be back Sunday night. I nodded, turning back to my drafting table. I hope it's everything you're expecting. Emily seemed thrown by my sudden calm. She hovered uncertainly, perhaps waiting for more argument, before announcing she was taking a shower. As the bathroom door closed and the water started running, I pulled out my phone and made a call to my attorney, James. David, it's nearly 8 p.m. on a Friday. This better be good, he answered. I need your help with something, I said quietly. How quickly can you draw up an eviction notice? Eviction? What the hell happened? I gave him the condensed version of the evening's events. James whistled low. You sure about this? 2 years is a long time to throw away over a suspicious trip. It's not about the trip, I explained. It's about the complete dismissal of my concerns, the immediate leap to I'm not your property when I expressed legitimate worries. And you're certain she's lying about this conference? Not certain, no, but certain enough that I'm not comfortable with the situation. James was silent for a moment. Okay, I can have something for you Monday morning. But David, as your friend, not just your attorney, sleep on this. Make sure it's what you really want. I appreciate the concern, I told him, but some decisions don't need a night's sleep. The weekend passed in artificial normalcy, Emily seemed to think our argument was over, that I had accepted her trip. She spent Saturday shopping for new clothes, appropriate for a professional conference in a tropical setting, which apparently included 3 new bikinis and a backless dress that cost more than my first drafting table. Sunday brought a new tension when Emily's phone rang during breakfast. She glanced at the screen, then quickly silenced it. "Who was that?" I asked casually. "No one important," she replied too quickly. "Just work stuff." 5 minutes later, her phone buzzed with a text. Emily read it, then excused herself to the bathroom. I didn't check her phone, I wasn't that person, but I noticed Michael's name on the notification when it lit up again moments later. That evening, Emily packed while I pretended to work on designs. I watched from the corner of my eye as she slipped a small bag of new lingerie into her suitcase, items I'd never seen before. "Need any help?" I asked, testing her. "No," she said sharply, then softened to her tone. "I mean, no thank you, I've got it under control." I smiled, helped her finish packing, and even drove her to the airport on Tuesday morning. I kissed her goodbye and told her to have a productive conference. If she noticed the coldness behind my eyes, she didn't show it. As soon as her plane took off, I went to work. I contacted my attorney, James, who quickly prepared the eviction papers. Since Emily had never signed a lease agreement and contributed nothing to the mortgage, her legal claim to residence was minimal. The document gave her 30 days to vacate, more than generous under state law. By Thursday morning, I had a plan in place. The movers would arrive at 10 to pack Emily's things, James would deliver the legal papers that afternoon, and I would have everything organized before she returned on Sunday. What I didn't plan for was the doorbell ringing at 7 a.m. I opened the door to find Laura, Emily's sister, standing there with a stony expression. "We need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the loft. Laura and I had always gotten along well. Unlike Emily, she was straightforward to a fault, a surgeon with no patience for deception or drama. "This is early, even for you," I said, closing the door. "Coffee?" "No, I just need 5 minutes." She turned to face me, arms crossed. "Emily called me last night. From Hawaii." "Did she now? And what did she say?" "That you two had a fight about her trip, but that everything was fine. She wanted me to check on you, make sure you weren't sulking." Laura's expression was unreadable. "But that's not why I'm here." I waited, curious. "I saw them, David, at the resort. I'm attending a medical conference in Honolulu, and I decided to island hop for the weekend. Thought I'd surprise my sister at her legal conference." She made air quotes around the words. Imagine my surprise when I found her and Michael at a couple's massage. I felt a strange sense of vindication mixed with genuine sympathy for Laura, who looked both angry and hurt. "Did she see you?" I asked. "No, I left before they noticed me. Then I changed my flight to come back early." Laura shook her head. "She's been lying to me too. Said she got the Thompson account because of her work on the Nakamura case. But yesterday I ran into Bill Thompson at my hospital fundraiser, and he had no idea who Emily was." "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. Laura sighed. "Don't be. Emily has been like this since we were kids. Always taking shortcuts, always manipulating situations to get what she wants." She looked around the loft. "So what are you going to do?" "She's moving out. I've already arranged everything." Bang! Laura nodded, unsurprised. "Good, you deserve better." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small flash drive. "This has photos I took at the resort, in case she tries to deny everything." She placed it on the counter. "I love my sister, but I hate what she does to people who care about her." After Laura left, I sat with the flash drive for a long time, turning it over in my hands. I didn't need more evidence. I didn't need more pain. But I pocketed it anyway, another brick in the wall of certainty I was building around my decision. By Thursday afternoon, the movers had finished. Emily's possessions were neatly boxed in the guest room. I spent the evening preparing a folder with apartment listings and her price range, and the contact information for a good realtor I knew. The eviction notice was prominently displayed on the kitchen counter, alongside a brief, courteous letter explaining that our living arrangement and relationship had reached its natural conclusion. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I called Emily's friend, Amanda. "David, is everything okay?" Amanda answered, surprised. We weren't close. She was firmly Emily's friend, not a mutual one. "Everything's fine," I assured her. "I just had a quick question about this conference Emily's attending." "Conference? Amanda sounded genuinely confused. "What conference? Why, so I am." I felt a cold certainty settle in my stomach. "The legal conference in Maui, the one she left for on Tuesday." There was a pause. David, Michael announced last week that he and Emily would be taking vacation days after closing the Henderson case. There's no conference that I know of. I see, I said, my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. Did he happen to mention where they were going? He didn't, but Amanda hesitated. Look, there have been rumors about them for months. I didn't want to get involved, but if Emily told you she was at a conference, how long have the rumors been going on exactly? I pressed. Amanda sighed. Since the Christmas party, at least. Maybe before. I'm sorry, David. I thought you might have known, or at least suspected. I suspected something was off, but I didn't know it had been going on that long. If it helps, I don't think it was serious for her, just something that happened when they worked late. Office politics, you know? Emily always talked about you as her future. That doesn't help, actually, but I appreciate your honesty. What are you going to do? Amanda asked. I already did it. She'll be looking for a new place to live when she gets back. Oh, David, well, I can't say I blame you. Amanda paused. Do you want me to talk to her? Try to make her understand? No, but thank you. This is between Emily and me now. After hanging up with Amanda, I made one more call to the Royal Lahaina Resort in Maui. A friendly receptionist confirmed that they weren't hosting any legal conferences this week, but they did have a Michael Westbrook registered as a guest in a beachfront suite. And is there a second guest registered in that suite? I asked, my voice neutral. Yes, sir, there is, the receptionist confirmed. Would you like me to connect you to their room? No, thank you, that won't be necessary. Throughout this process, Emily texted occasionally, beach selfies carefully angled to not show if anyone was beside her, complaints about boring presentations without any specific details about content, and one drunken late-night message about missing me, sent at 1 a.m. Hawaii time, when all legitimate conference events would have concluded hours earlier. Wednesday night, she called. The conference is amazing, but I miss you, she said, her voice slightly slurred. I could hear waves and music in the background. Sounds like you're at a beach party, not a conference, I remarked. Oh, it's just the welcome reception, she said quickly. Right on the beach, very classy. All the law firms are here. What's the topic of your panel tomorrow? I asked. International property rights in developing nations? She stammered. Super boring stuff, but important for the Thompson account. Sounds fascinating. I'd love to read the conference materials when you get back. They're all digital this year, she said. Environmental concerns and all that. Of course. Well, enjoy your presentation. I responded politely but briefly to her texts after that. I asked no questions about Michael or the conference. I volunteered no information about what was happening at home. The architect in me knew that sometimes you need to demolish before you can rebuild. On Friday night, I received an unexpected visitor. The doorbell rang around 9 p.m., and when I opened it, Jessica from my office stood there holding a stack of blueprints. I know it's late, she said apologetically, but you mentioned wanting to see the Hamilton project revisions before Monday, and I finally finished them. I invited her in, grateful for the distraction. Jessica had been a colleague for 3 years, brilliant at structural engineering, direct in her communication, and yes, occasionally prone to late-night texts about work. Emily had always been jealous of her, though I'd never given her reason to be. Can I get you a drink? I offered, taking the blueprints. Jessica hesitated. Actually, yes. It's been a hell of a week. We settled at my drafting table with glasses of whiskey, reviewing her excellent revisions to the problematic Hamilton design. The conversation flowed easily from work to architecture theory to our shared love of vintage mechanical pencils. It was refreshing talking to someone who understood my passion, who didn't roll her eyes when I got excited about cantilevers or load-bearing innovations. This place is amazing, Jessica commented, looking around the loft. I remember when it was just a concrete shell. You've transformed it. Thanks, I said, feeling a pang as I realized Emily had never shown much interest in the details of my design. It's been a labor of love. Jessica nodded, then gestured to the boxes visible in the guest room. Moving some things around, I hesitated, then decided on honesty. Emily's moving out, actually. We're done. Jessica's eyes widened. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. No one does yet. It's recent. Do you want to talk about it, or is that inappropriate given that we work together? I found myself telling her everything, the fake conference, the dismissal of my concerns, the I'm not your property declaration. Jessica listened without interruption, her expression shifting from surprise to indignation to understanding. You know what the worst part is? I concluded. I would have supported her career ambitions if she'd been honest. I've always encouraged her professional growth. But she chose deception, then made me the villain when I questioned it. Jessica nodded slowly. You deserve better than that, David. Someone who respects your boundaries isn't asking for ownership. It's asking for basic decency. We talked for hours, the conversation shifting from my situation to a recent breakup with a man who couldn't handle her dedication to her career. There was no flirtation, no inappropriate undercurrent, just two colleagues becoming friends through shared experiences and mutual respect. When Jessica finally left around midnight, I felt lighter than I had in days. Not because I was attracted to her, though objectively she was attractive, but because I'd been reminded that healthy communication was possible, that not everyone saw boundaries as chains. The weekend brought another surprise. On Saturday morning, my doorbell rang again. This time it was Brian, Emily's ex-boyfriend from before we met. Brian, what are you doing here? I asked, genuinely confused. I'd only met him once, briefly, at a bar where we'd accidentally run into him about a year into my relationship with Emily. Can I come in? I think we need to talk, he said, looking uncomfortable but determined. I let him in, curious about what could possibly bring Emily's ex to my door. I saw Emily's social media post from Hawaii, he began without preamble, with Michael Westbrook. And I thought you should know that she was seeing him while we were still together. It's why we broke up. I stared at him. That was over 2 years ago. Brian nodded. Yeah, I found out she was sleeping with him to get ahead at the firm. When I confronted her, she gave me the whole, "I'm not your property" speech and walked out. The parallel was so exact, it was almost comical. Why tell me this now? Because I saw your comment on her beach photo. Hope the conference is productive. There is no conference, man. I thought you should know what you're dealing with. I wish someone had told me. After Brian left, I sat in silence for a long time processing this new information. Emily's pattern wasn't new. It wasn't a mistake or a momentary lapse in judgment. It was calculated behavior that she'd been repeating for years. Sunday evening arrived. I heard Emily's key in the lock around 8 p.m. She called out my name as she entered, her voice carrying that particular tone of forced casualness that suggests someone with something to hide. In the kitchen, I answered. Emily appeared in the doorway, suntanned and slightly disheveled from travel. She wore new earrings I hadn't seen before, small pearl studs that looked expensive. Hey, she said, dropping her bags. The flight was absolute hell. Some kid was screaming the entire time from Honolulu to LA. I nodded, staying seated at the kitchen island. There's coffee if you want some. She seemed to hesitate, perhaps sensing something off in my demeanor. Thanks, but I'm exhausted. I think I'll just take a shower and crash. She stepped forward as if to kiss me, but I turned slightly away, reaching for my mug. She paused, then continued. The conference was amazing, by the way. I made so many contacts. Michael introduced me to the senior counsel at Thompson Industries, and they're interested in having me work directly on their next acquisition. Congratulations, I said evenly. That sounds like exactly what you were hoping for. Emily smiled, relieved at what she perceived as my acceptance. It really was worth it. I know you had concerns, but it was completely professional. I'm sure it was. I gestured to the counter where the documents waited. There's something you need to see. Emily's eyes followed my hand, her expression changing as she registered the official-looking papers. What's this? Legal notice. You have 30 days to find new accommodations. She blinked rapidly as if trying to clear her vision. Is this some kind of joke? No joke. I've taken the liberty of gathering some apartment listings that might suit your needs. There's also the card for Sarah Jenkins. She's an excellent realtor. Emily snatched up the papers, scanning them with the rapid efficiency of someone used to parsing legal documents. You're evicting me? You can't be serious. Your things are packed in the guest room. I've been very careful with them. She looked up from the papers, her face flushing with anger. This is insane. You can't just throw me out because we had a fight. This isn't about a fight, Emily. This is about fundamental incompatibility in how we view our relationship. What are you talking about? Because I went on a business trip? I stood up, my height advantage allowing me to look down at her, because when I expressed legitimate concerns, you dismissed them entirely. Because you framed my caring about our boundaries as me treating you like property. Because you prioritized a questionable opportunity over our relationship's trust. There was nothing questionable about it. Emily's voice rose. It was a legitimate conference. Was it? Because I called the Royal Lahaina Resort. There was no legal conference there this week. Not on international property law, not on anything. Emily's mouth opened, then closed. For once, the brilliant lawyer was at a loss for words. I also spoke with your colleague Amanda yesterday, I continued calmly. She was surprised to hear you were at a conference, since Michael told everyone at the office you two were using vacation days for a well-deserved break after the Henderson case. You checked up on me? Emily finally managed, outrage replacing shock. You spied on me? No, I verified facts after you left. There's a difference. Nothing happened with Michael, she protested, but her eyes shifted away. A tell I'd noticed early in our relationship whenever she bent the truth. Really? Then explain these. I pulled out my phone and scrolled the photos I'd downloaded from Emily's cloud account, a service we shared for convenience. She'd apparently forgotten that her phone automatically uploaded pictures to it. There were dozens from Hawaii, many featuring Emily and Michael in decidedly unprofessional situations. Lounging on the beach, drinking at sunset, and one particularly damning image of them kissing in a hotel corridor. Emily's face drained of color. You went through my private photos? That's invasion of privacy. Shared cloud account, remember? You set it up yourself last year so we could exchange vacation pictures easily. I put the phone down. But honestly, the photos just confirm what I already knew. The betrayal happened when you lied to my face, not when you slept with him. You bastard, she hissed, tears forming in her eyes. You set me up. You acted like everything was fine, that you were okay with the trip. And you acted like you were going to a conference, not a romantic getaway with your boss. I guess we're both good at pretending when we need to be. Emily's strategy shifted. Her shoulders slumped and her eyes welled with genuine tears. David, please, I know I messed up, but you can't just throw away 2 years over one mistake. One mistake? Let's count, shall we? 1, lying about the conference. 2, gaslighting me when I expressed concerns. 3, using the I'm not your property line to deflect legitimate questions. 4, continuing the lie with fake conference updates. 5, coming home and lying again, right to my face, even when the trip was over. I ticked off each point on my fingers. That's 5 mistakes, minimum, and they all point to the same conclusion. You don't respect me or our relationship. I do respect you. I love you. She moved toward me, reaching for my hand. David, people make mistakes. Relationships hit rough patches. We can work through this. Oh, and I forgot number 6, I added. The diamond bracelet Michael bought you 2 months ago, the one you hid in the back of the closet. Emily froze. How did you? The movers found it while packing your things. Nice piece. Not really your style, though. A bit flashy for court, don't you think? It wasn't like that, she stammered. It was a bonus for the Henderson case, a professional gift. Right. And I suppose the lingerie you bought for this trip, the stuff you've never worn for me, was also professional attire? Emily's face contorted with anger. You went through my things? What gives you the right? I didn't go through anything. I watched you pack it, just like I've watched you lie for months now. Brian filled me in on the rest. Brian? The color drained from her face. You talked to Brian? He came by yesterday. Seems you have a pattern, Emily. Same affair, same excuses, same I'm not your property speech when caught. Brian is a liar. He was controlling and jealous. Was he? Or was he just asking reasonable questions like I did? Emily stepped back, visibly calculating her next move. So that's it? 2 years together and you're just done? No chance to make amends? No couples therapy? Nothing? Some betrayals can't be undone, Emily. Trust is like a structural beam in a building. Once it's compromised, the entire structure is unsafe. Stop with the architectural metaphors, she shouted, slamming her hand on the counter. This is our life, not one of your precious buildings. You're right. Buildings are honest. They don't pretend to be something they're not. Emily stared at me, her expression morphing from anger to calculation. I could almost see the lawyer in her forming strategies, testing arguments. You know, I could fight this eviction, she said finally. I could claim tenant rights. I could drag this out for months. You could try, but as your lawyer would tell you, without a lease agreement or proof of rent payments, you'd lose. and dragging it out would only mean more billable hours for James. Emily tried another tack. What about all I've contributed to this place? The furniture we bought together, the art, the renovations I helped plan. I've documented everything. Anything you purchased personally or we bought jointly is yours to take. The list is in the folder with the apartment listings. And what will you tell our friends? Your parents? They love me. The truth, that you chose a career opportunity with your boss over honesty in our relationship. Emily's eyes narrowed. That's character assassination. I could sue you for defamation. I actually laughed at that. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, as you well know, and I have the photos and the testimony from Amanda to back it up. Emily switched tactics again, moving closer to me, her voice softening. David, please. I made a terrible mistake. I got caught up in the attention, the possibility of advancement. Michael means nothing to me. It was just a stupid, impulsive decision. She reached for my face, her fingers brushing my cheek. Don't throw away everything we've built. I love you. Only you. For a brief moment, I felt the pull of our history, the comfort of the familiar. Emily sensed my hesitation and pressed her advantage, leaning in to kiss me. Her lips met mine, and I allowed it for a second before gently disengaging. Nice try, I said quietly, but it's too late. Emily stepped back, frustration evident in every line of her body. What do you want from me, David? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. Public humiliation? You want me to tell everyone what I did? I will. Just tell me what it would take to fix this. It's not about what I want anymore. It's about what I won't accept. And I won't accept a relationship where honesty is optional and trust is expendable. Emily spent the next hour cycling through anger, bargaining, and tears. She threatened legal action. She promised to change. She accused me of planning this all along. She reminded me of all we'd shared. Through it all, I remained calm, speaking little, letting her emotional storm exhaust itself against the immovable structure of my decision. Eventually, she grabbed her purse and the folder of apartment listings. I'm staying at Amanda's tonight. This isn't over. Take whatever you need for the next few days, I suggested. Your boxes will be here when you're ready to move them. She stopped at the door, turning back with red-rimmed eyes. You're going to regret this, David. No one will ever love you the way I do. I nodded acknowledgement but offered no response. As an architect, I knew that sometimes the most eloquent statement is empty space. After she left, I poured myself another coffee and walked to the large windows overlooking the city. The loft felt different already, larger, emptier, but somehow more honest. The next morning, I woke to a barrage of texts from Emily, alternating between apologies and accusations. I responded only to the practical questions about when she could access her belongings. Around noon, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Is this David Mitchell? A male voice asked when I answered. Speaking. This is Michael Westbrook. I think we need to talk. About what exactly? I asked, already knowing the answer. Emily is devastated. She told me what happened, Michael said, his voice carrying that practiced authority lawyers use to intimidate. Don't you think you're overreacting? Overreacting would have been changing the locks while she was gone. Overreacting would have been throwing her things on the street. I gave her 30 days notice, which is more than generous given the circumstances. Look, what happened in Hawaii? Stop. I cut him off. I don't need or want details. This isn't about jealousy. Then what is it about? He asked, sounding genuinely confused. Respect, honesty, trust. All the things that were missing when Emily dismissed my concerns and lied to my face. There was a pause, then Michael's voice lowered to a conspiratorial tone. Between us men, she can be difficult, emotional, but she really does care about you. I almost laughed at the absurdity. This man, who'd participated in deceiving me, was now trying to bond with me over Emily's supposed emotional nature. She cares so much that she lied about your conference and tried to make me feel controlling for questioning it. I replied, that's not care. That's manipulation. You're making a mistake, Michael warned, his tone shifting. Emily has a promising future at our firm. I'd hate to see this personal situation affect your professional relationships. Is that a threat? A friendly warning. My firm works with several developers who use your architectural services. I smiled, though he couldn't see it. Let me offer you a friendly warning in return. Strathmore & Associates has an exclusive contract with Blackridge Development, your firm's biggest client. I've been golfing with Thomas Blackridge monthly for years, and Thomas is very traditional about certain things, like married senior partners taking junior associates to Hawaii under false pretenses. The silence that followed was deeply satisfying. This conversation never happened, Michael finally said. Agreed. Goodbye, Michael. The most dramatic confrontation came when Emily appeared at a charity gala where I was representing my firm. She'd clearly been drinking, her eyes glossy, and movements unsteady as she approached me in the middle of a conversation with potential clients. "So, this is where you've been hiding," she said loudly, causing several heads to turn in our direction. "Emily, this isn't the place," I said quietly, excusing myself from my group. I guided her toward a quieter corner, aware of the curious stares following us. "When is the place, David? You won't answer my calls. You've blocked me everywhere." Her voice carried across the room despite my attempts to keep our conversation private. "We've said everything that needs to be said," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Please don't make a scene." "A scene?" She laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about scenes? How about the scene where you packed up my entire life without warning? Or the scene where you accused me of sleeping with my boss based on some photos that proved nothing?" By now, several colleagues were openly watching our exchange. Thomas Blackridge, the developer I'd mentioned to Michael, approached with concern. "Everything all right here, David?" he asked, eyeing Emily warily. "Everything's fine, Thomas. Emily was just leaving." "I'm not going anywhere until you hear me out," Emily insisted, grabbing my arm. "I lost my job because of you. Michael put me on probation after your threats. My career is ruined." "I made no threats," I corrected her. I simply reminded him of potential consequences for his actions. "You had no right," she was shouting now, mascara running down her cheeks. "You think you're so perfect, so morally superior. Did you tell your fancy friends here how you invaded my privacy? How you went through my personal photos?" Thomas placed a hand on my shoulder. "Security is on their way. Do you want to press charges?" "That won't be necessary," I said, just as two security guards appeared. Emily saw them approaching and something in her seemed to break. Her anger collapsed into despair. "I loved you, David. I really did. I made a mistake, but I loved you." For the first time, I believed her. Not about the mistake part, but about the love. It was a broken, selfish kind of love, but love nonetheless. "I know," I said simply, "but sometimes love isn't enough." As security escorted her out, I could feel the weight of dozens of stares. Thomas shook his head. "That's going to be the talk of the industry for weeks." "I'm sorry about that," I said, embarrassed by the spectacle. "Don't be," he replied. "We've all been there. Well, not exactly there, but you know what I mean." He studied me for a moment. "You handled that with remarkable composure. Most men would have lost their cool." "Losing my cool wouldn't solve anything," I said. "It never does." Thomas nodded approvingly. "That's the kind of level-headedness I want in the architect designing my next building." Emily's final attack came a week later at my office. I was in a meeting with potential clients when my assistant interrupted. "I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell, but there's a woman insisting on seeing you. She says it's an emergency." Before I could respond, Emily pushed past my assistant into the conference room. Her eyes were red, her appearance uncharacteristically disheveled. "David, you need to come home now," she announced, ignoring the stunned faces of my clients. "Emily, I'm in a meeting," I said calmly. "Whatever this is, it can wait." "No, it can't." She took a deep breath. "There's been a flood in the loft. A pipe burst in the bathroom. Everything is underwater." I studied her face, recognizing the lie immediately. "Is that so? Strange that the building manager hasn't called me." Emily faltered. He tried, but couldn't reach you." I took out my phone, showing the screen with no missed calls. "Emily, please leave. We can discuss whatever this is later." "You don't understand," she persisted, her voice rising. "I need to talk to you privately. It's important." One of my clients, an older woman named Margaret, spoke up. "Young lady, I believe Mr. Mitchell has asked you to leave." Emily turned on her. "This doesn't concern you." "Emily," I said firmly, standing now, "leave now, or I'll have security escort you out." "You can't do this to me," she shouted, tears streaming down her face. "After everything we've been through, after everything I gave up for you." "What exactly did you give up?" I asked quietly. "Your apartment that you were already planning to leave because of the rent increase? Your furniture that you were tired of? Please tell me what enormous sacrifices you made." Emily looked around the room, suddenly aware of the audience watching her breakdown. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely audible. I don't know how to fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I replied gently. "It's over, Emily. Please accept that and move on." She nodded, turned, and left without another word. The room was silent for a long moment after her departure. "Well," Margaret finally said, "I think we've just witnessed quite the drama. Is this the kind of excitement we can expect if we hire your firm, Mr. Mitchell?" The tension broke as everyone laughed. I apologized for the interruption, and surprisingly, the meeting proceeded successfully. Later, Margaret pulled me aside. "My ex-husband was a cheater," she said bluntly. "I recognize the behaviors. You made the right call, and you handled it with dignity. That tells me all I need to know about your character." A week later, Emily arranged to move her things. She sent a rented truck and 2 friends rather than coming herself. I made myself scarce during the process, leaving detailed instructions with the building manager. When I returned home that evening, her keys were on the kitchen counter alongside a note. "You'll realize what you threw away someday." I placed the note in the recycling bin and her keys in a drawer. Then I opened a beer, sat at my drafting table, and began sketching preliminary plans for renovating the loft. The guest room would make an excellent home gym. The closet Emily had used could be converted into additional storage for my architecture books and materials. The bathroom needed updating anyway. 3 months after Emily moved out, I had an unexpected visitor. It was a rainy Thursday evening, and I was working late on the Community Arts Center design when my doorbell rang. Opening the door, I found Emily standing there, soaked from the downpour, makeup running down her face. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice trembling. "Please." Against my better judgment, I let her in, offering a towel for her dripping hair. "Make it quick," I said. "I have a deadline tomorrow." Emily looked around the loft, noting the changes I'd made since she left. New furniture, rearranged spaces, the guest room now converted to a home office. Her eyes lingered on a woman's jacket hanging by the door, Jessica's. "You're seeing someone," she stated flatly. "That's not why you're here." She took a deep breath. "No, I came to give you this." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for a substantial amount. "It's for the time I lived here. Rent, utilities, everything." I looked at her, confused. "Why now?" "Because you were right," she said quietly. "About everything. Michael was using me. The moment I stopped being useful, he discarded me." Her laugh was bitter. "Sound familiar?" "I didn't discard you, Emily. I enforced boundaries you refused to respect." She nodded, tears forming. "I know that now. Therapy is illuminating." She glanced around again. "Is it serious, with whoever owns that jacket?" "Yes." "Is she good to you?" "She respects me, and I respect her." Emily nodded again, wiping her eyes. "I'm glad. I mean that." She moved toward the door, then paused. "I really did love you, David, just not in the right way." "I know," I replied. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Emily." After she left, I looked at the check for a long moment before tearing it in half. Some debts couldn't be paid with money, and some lessons were worth the price.
The moral of the story is that true strength lies in calm, calculated self-respect rather than explosive anger. When a partner uses defensive phrases like, "You're controlling me," to gaslight you and mask their own deceit, the best response is never to argue, but to quietly enforce your boundaries. Betrayal and manipulation always carry a heavy price, and walking away with your dignity intact is the ultimate revenge.